What would Maui Powder Works look like all grown up? It's hero worship time here on the podcast. Today we're featuring Andrews Powder Coating out of Los Angeles, California. They are what I would call a powder coater's powder coater. Sandy Andrews, CFO and Strategic Director of Andrews, joins me on the show to discuss how they went from a pea-sized job shop to a powerhouse powder coating company filling the skyline of New York City. It's a rags to riches story as she shares their personal and professional journey through exemplary finishing and certifications. Lots of certifications. If they can, so can you. Get ready to level up your powder coater game. Well, welcome to the Powder Coater podcast. I am so super stoked to have a person that's been on my hit list for a while. This is Sandy Andrews. She is the CFO and Strategic Director for of Operations at Andrews Powder Coating in Los Angeles, California. And I have to admit, I've got some hero worship going on for my little, I'm going to give you my little heart emoji because, I have been watching you guys for so long and I love what you guys do. You are a powder coater's powder coater. You know what I mean? Like if my little business could grow up and be a a real powder coating company someday, it would be that. So I just want to say welcome to the show. And I'm just, worshiping the ground, you guys, because you have really just pushed through so many boundaries and stuff. So there you go. I am blushing.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about specialty coatings or specialty certifications within the realm of powder coating. You pretty much have checked off that list of pretty much almost all of them. I want to ask you kind of out of the gate, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but in today's topic about certifications and what they are, we're just going to stay baseline. But all the time when I start planning a podcast and stuff, I always ask myself, what's in it for the listener? Like what's so important about certification or getting certified in powder coatings, whether it's ISO 9000 or military, AAMA, PCI 3000, 4000. We're going to talk about all of that, but why is this so important?
We think that it creates a different barrier for our quality management systems versus powder coaters that are, for example, doing motorcycle parts and car rims all the time. So we really needed to differentiate ourselves because we're not in Maui. So we're in Los Angeles, California. So we're one of the biggest metropolises in the world, and there is tons of competition here. So if we wanted to base our company on motorcycle parts and car parts, we discovered that we're suddenly everybody's in a bidding war and nobody's making any money, and it just depresses the entire industry, which is what we experienced. So we knew decades ago that we needed to do something else to differentiate ourselves and start climbing into different specialty coatings. And that's what it was for us. We wanted to survive. We wanted to give our employees a career opportunity instead of, something that lasts 5 or 6 years and then goes away like much of our competitors did do. And we've been really happy that we made that move, as uncomfortable as the growing pains were. And they honestly were uncomfortable, but we're glad we did it. And we've been able to hold on to our team through all of that process. And they've walked right beside us every step of the way. So
that's awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, you know, for our paths crossed, I mean, well, let me back it up just a minute, because like, you know, you can only do so many car parts or motorcycle parts, right? And then after a while, it just becomes, you know, the same old, right? So I appreciate and admire your challenge. You're challenging yourselves to kind of take it to the next level, not just from a marketing or marketplace differentiator, but, you know, because of, you know, just the fact that you're growing, right? And you're continuing to grow. And I think that's what I admire you the most. And I was thinking last night, like when I first saw, I think the first time I saw you guys in the marketplace, Ross is rolling up the door. So just bear with me, bear with the noise. He just came in. You know, I saw you in Powder Coating Tough magazine, and it was like,
wow,
centerfold.
That was a while ago.
It was. And you were featured as being different because you were doing aerospace. And I'm thinking that is just too wild to be able to see powder coatings in aerospace. You know, I've seen paint coatings in aerospace, but powder coatings just seemed to, you know, and that's pretty much what the article was about, as I recall. You know, and that's when the hero worship kind of came in, going, wow, that's amazing. You guys are just pushing that level, and you're getting scientists involved in coatings, right? You know?
Yep.
So that's what really kind of brought me to pay attention to you guys a little bit more, and, you know, be excited for you in pushing the industry further. So that was kind of, you know, okay. But, you know, today our paths crossed actually recently, because I'm dealing with this contractor. I brought it up on the show before about how to explain what it is when they want this type of powder, which is a 2605. And the sample they brought in was your sample, because it said Andrew's Powder Coating. And I'm like, I know these guys. And then I picked up the phone and called you. And that's how we kind of became BFFs over this project, you know, and stuff. So I'm happy. And it was like, I was struggling with this guy trying to explain what it is, but then at the same time, I don't know 100% of what it is either. And that's why I think that was the impetus for the show, to kind of talk about, there are 2605 powders, but there's a process behind that powder.
Yes. So I'm going to try to make this brief and not get into too much tech here. But an AMA 2605 certified powder can only be applied by an AMA 2605 certified applicator. And the reason for that is these powders they're supercharged powders. I mean, they're very superior powders, and the manufacturers offer, depending on the manufacturer, who they are, they'll offer 15 to 30-year warranties on their AMA 2605 compliant powders, but only if they're applied by an AMA 2605 certified applicator. The reason you have to be certified is because these powder manufacturers are some of the biggest chemical manufacturers in the world. I mean, we have AkzoNobel, Sherwin-Williams, PPG. Yeah. They have big pockets. So the people building houses in McKenna also have big pockets. And if something goes wrong, there's going to be a lot of legal going back and forth, which is going to affect a lot of people financially. The powder manufacturers do not want to be affected in a way that would make them vulnerable by allowing somebody that's not certified to apply these powders to just willy-nilly apply them and hope for the best. They've got to know that that applicator knows what they're doing and has taken the proper process steps to do it. And the recertifications are every year. Axo Nobel specifically being the most challenging to recertify. And that's what the Fenestration Glazing Industry Alliance, FGIA, really bases their bar on, is Axo Nobel's certification process, because what they ask us to do is every year, once a year, it's in August for them, I believe, they ask us to pre-treat 8 aluminum panels.
Yep.
And put through our 5-stage pre-treatment system, and then powder coat with a 2605 powder. So we do that 8 panels for 6 weeks in a row, because Axo Nobel is testing the consistency from week 1 to week 6, and they want to make sure everything is the same. And if it's not, you don't get your certification. So it's a big deal, and all the other manufacturers follow suit. So that's why it's so difficult to get and maintain.
So you're saying that it's not just you have to do this for Axo Nobel. You're saying you have to do this for all of them, right?
Every manufacturer.
Every single one, because you don't know who's going to specify that next project. So you have to stay current.
Correct. So Kim, forgive me for a second because my lighting is on auto light.
Oh.
And if somebody is still for a while, the light's still out.
Well, when you raise your hand, you're not asking a question.
Yes. So we're into energy conservation here.
That's awesome.
But that's how we do it. The lights go out by themselves.
That's fine. And could you, we could go in so many different directions, and I know we'll be bouncing around, but my next question to you is in regards to AMA and FGIA. I'm a little confused about this. What is this? They're coming together as one, right?
They came together on January 1st of 2020, and they got married. So,
and the end.
The end. So it's been a happy marriage. That's what happened. So AMA is the American Architectural Manufacturing Association, and they wanted to be more than just the American. They wanted to start spreading this globally.
Oh,
so okay. Even though in Europe they don't produce 2605 compliant powders, I've heard, because they don't have a giant ozone hole above their heads in Europe, and so they're not subjected to the same UV issues that we're subjected to over here. Right. So I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know. We've been kind of, because we're trying to get launched in Europe with some of our finishes. They have Qualicoat.
Yes.
And
we test the Qualicoat standards as well, because we want to be on a global platform as well.
Right. I mean, you just completed a project in New York, right?
Yes, we completed the Spiral, which is a stunning masterpiece of
I want to bring that out.
Yeah, it's a 66-story.
If I Google it, will it come up? Spiral.
Yeah, it's at thespiral.com.
Oh, okay. The Spiral?
The Spiral, correct.
Okay, .com. Oh, well, here's, it's okay. Oh my gosh, this thing is, it's got like a wreath around it or something.
Yep, a spiral. So it's at 66 Hudson Yards, and this is a Tishman Meyer project.
I'm going to share my screen.
Permista Lisa was the fenestration vendor on it, and they contracted with Vitroxa Windows, and And so we do, the Troxa USA is represented by Goldbrecht, and we do all of their finishing. And
My
so
goodness.
every single aluminum extrusion that holds all of those windows in has come through our shop. And
That's amazing.
it's really cool. We formulated a powder for them that we, through Tiger Drylac. It's a 75 series, and it's called Spiral Silver. So it's a unique custom color, and it's a cool building, and we're really proud of it.
That is. Wow. I mean, that's amazing to, to even just be a part of, something so much greater than yourselves. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I can't imagine what the feeling is. I mean, what a sense of accomplishment. And you see all this stuff like Tiger, and all of them do. They'll put pictures in their brochures of these big, massive buildings and stuff and everything. But like, you never hear about the powder coater, that did all the work, right? We got to change that narrative. Hopefully we will.
It's funny you say that, because I've had some conversations specifically with Tiger, because their social media marketing is pretty great. And I've let them know that, hey, when we do cross-pollination, I'm always the first person to hashtag Tiger Drylac, and the first person to name them in my post, and as an applicator, and somebody that's approved not only for ALMA 2605 through them, but CARC coatings, which is a chemical agent resistant coatings. We want them to recognize their finishers that have had to jump through the hoops to get to where they're at.
Yeah, exactly.
So they have cross-pollinated, and I appreciate those efforts for sure, because the more they cross-pollinate us, the more we can sell their powders, and everybody benefits.
Hey, Powder Coating Nation, Kim Scott here. It's time to grow your business with us. The Powder Coating Near Me directory can get your powder coating shop the real exposure it needs to succeed when you list your job shop today. Join a list of top custom coaters who've listed their credentials to be discovered by the customers who are searching for powder coating every day. Head over to powdercoatingnearme.com, click Add a Coating Shop, and start creating your very own page for free. Yes, free. You can add your logo, name, address, phone number, map listing, social media links, photos, video, and more. When you submit your listing, we'll get notified and approve you right away. Now you can add all the categories you specialize in and even add your own tags. Get the SEO and valuable backlinks your company needs for authority and getting ranked. You can even use the link you create and share it to your favorite social media profiles to build legitimacy as a custom coater. What are you waiting for? Become part of the largest consumer search directory in powder coating in the world, all for free. Find and click the link in this podcast, or go to powdercoatingnearme.com to get started growing your brand today. Yeah, it started off okay with me in their marketing department, but it quickly it quickly went off of a cliff. But I know that there was one particular person that's no longer there that it seems like they've kind of turned around a little bit, for at least on the custom coder side. They seem to, the bespoke small guys, they seem to be supporting a little bit more. I don't want to go there right now, but I'm glad that they are starting to recognize, at least in some way, shape, or form, they're starting to recognize what they're doing. And that we only hope the best for them. Maybe they'll all come in tow at some point. Let's get into so there's three different ones. There's 2605, then it goes 2604, 2603. I believe 2603 is like what you would call a decorative powder. So it can pretty much be, indoors or outdoors, but it doesn't, it's got a, oh, that's what I wanted to pull up is I have a little chart on my website that kind of talks about those the differences between the three.
Okay.
Let me bring that up. But go ahead and start talking and then I'll just bring it up.
So AMA 2603, which is it wasn't called AMA 2603 when we started this business. They were just called regular polyesters.
Mm-hmm.
Those were like the RAL colors that we all just used to spray all the time. Normal polyesters that had decent outdoor life for exposure, but nothing superior. And it was acceptable for, even here in California for outdoor furniture and outdoor application, although everything I'm reading now about AMA 2603 compliant coatings, they're suggesting that these are interior only coatings. But
Yeah.
I know from longevity and experience that most of the 2603 compliant finishes are acceptable and fine for outdoor. That said, the 2604 super durable resins that have now been added, we have moved away from 2603 coatings and spray at least a 2604 almost exclusively because the cost difference is so nominal, and to give our clients something way superior for just a little bit more money just made better sense.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at too. Unless they're specifically asking for like, some special, to candy or something like that, but even if it's rims and stuff, we just really want to offer that too,
Sure.
Just for our own, just so we can sleep at night. You know what I mean? There is that level of it, right?
Helpful when your client doesn't come back to you in 6 months or a year and tells you that their coating is faded or, some other color characteristic has gone away. If you can, for $10 more for, a 5-pound mini pack, for example, you can apply a superior powder, then of course, please do it.
Right. Yeah. For your own sake. Right. Yeah, I think that's great. We pretty much do it. Like I said, we do it exclusively. I'll tell you this is kind of an interesting situation I wanted to talk about because back in 2000, I think 18 or 19, we were brought in to do a resort, exterior facade, and they had specified a 2605 finish. And this was the first time we kind of had ever been asked about this color. And I'm like, why did they pick that? Well, like you go back in time and it's the architect or the designer or the project manager, whoever made the call. But what was funny is there isn't anybody here that can do that. But then it was getting fabricated by a local fabricator on the island, not here, but on the Big Island. And I'm thinking, why did you even allow this to happen? Did you not even know that they wanted 2605? Both powders were 2605 because it was it had like a two-tone effect, right? And this is like, I'm not going to say who it is. It's on our website, the picture of the building. It is, it's a name that everybody would know.
Okay.
And that was my first introduction to 2605. And I'm thinking, what is, I'm trying to unravel what the difference is. We were just starting to use 2604 finishes and stuff, and learn about them, but we had no clue what that was. And by that time, the powder had already been ordered. We pretty much just followed the directions, even though we knew, and I kind of had to get into like an email thing back and forth because I didn't want to be put on the hook for the warranties, right? Because that's what I was looking at was, okay, it's exterior, but you're not getting the process that goes along with that. And they need to understand that. So I'm hoping it's still looking good today, but sometimes you're just out in the weeds with this stuff, and I guess that's kind of what brought me to have you on the show, because people need to understand that there is I guess, a chain, chain of custody. There is, warranties that need to be provided. Can you walk around that a little bit?
Yes. The manufacturers. So one of the reasons we moved into the building we're in now is because when we first started to do architectural coatings and dive into the ALMA 2605 realm, we were in a building that was quite a bit smaller than the one we're in right now. And we did not have our own pretreatment facility in-house. And the manufacturers want the finisher to have, like you said, care and custody of the entire process. So we did have one manufacturer that allowed us for a small amount of time to use an approved outside vendor to do all of the pre-treatment for the extrusion before bringing it into our shop and coating it. But they only allowed that for a period of a couple of years, which allowed us time to source another building, get permits, arrange logistics to get all of our equipment moved, which I know you can imagine even in your shop it's a giant project to do.
Yeah.
So we moved into this building and we installed a 5-stage pre-treatment system, but we did it a little bit differently than most of the people in the country at that time. So this was late 2017, and we pay a lot of attention to what's going on in metal finishings up in the California legislation and what they allow and what they disallow. And chromate is one of those items that is it's not environmentally friendly. And we knew that if we were going to invest the amount of money that we were investing into this pre-treatment system, it would not had a return on our investment before we were able to pay it off when the California legislation said we're not doing chromate anymore.
Right.
So we went outside the box and we introduced zirconium to the process. Mm-hmm. And every single manufacturer without fail held their hands up and they're like, oh no, we're not going to ALMA certify you with zirconium. And we had to really convince them by doing tons and tons of testing in their accelerated Florida chambers and show them that zirconium not only met ALMA standards, but exceeded ALMA standards. And zirconium has gotten such a good reputation because it's safe for the applicator and it's safe for the environment. And we don't have big chromium conversion tanks to pollute anything, but most of all pollute our employees and expose them to carcinogens, quite frankly. Yeah. So we just didn't want to do that. So we do zirconium, and everyone's happy with it.
So were you like the first in the country to do that, or just one of the earlier ones?
I'm not gonna go that bold to say that because I really haven't. I don't know.
You don't know, okay? But you did have to pay for all that testing in Florida and stuff, right?
We worked with the manufacturers.
You did, okay?
Yeah.
That's so good.
The manufacturers were rooting for us. There's not too many 2605 compliant finishers out here. Right. So, and we have a giant market. So they wanted to back us and they wanted it to work. So,
right.
We worked together.
Because they knew it was coming, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And in fact, it's currently in Sacramento right now. And a lot of chromium houses are, I'm sure you read what's going on in LinkedIn and you in the finishing magazines that it's a big deal, and a lot of companies are struggling with the situation right now, and I feel bad for them, but I'm just so happy that we took that advanced step and took a chance.
Yeah. I mean, because not only are you facing something that was never been done, or, an early adopter to this zirconium, you're also having to work with California within their system, and they're already kind of just so, everything. I'm sorry, but
challenging is the word.
I don't want to say bad words, but it's just, I don't know what it is about California. It just has to be California, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's to me, that you're able to get these aerospace jobs or these other building jobs, and whether they're across the country or in California, how you've managed to navigate that complicated system politically and economically, right? Is that's a whole nother facet to what you've accomplished, I guess. And that's why I just admire you guys. So let's get into, do you happen to know how many 2605 finishers there are by any chance? I mean, I know it's off the cuff kind of question, but.
I don't know. I know it is not very many, and many of the 2605 compliant finishers that were 2605 certified last year are not certified this year. And it happens every year where more and more 2605 compliant finishers fall off the list because they're not performing to standards. And I know of some projects that have failed, and they're having some trouble right now. So I don't have a quantity. The manufacturers are a little bit tight-lipped about it.
Yeah.
I've asked them specifically how many are in our area. And some manufacturers have confirmed that we're the only one in the greater LA area. Some manufacturers have confirmed for them we're the only one in, the western part of the United States, which is great for us. So I can't get a straight answer.
But these projects you're doing are just so huge too, that they take a long time to turn, right? Turnover.
They do.
Yeah.
They do take a long time. And that's fine, with us. It keeps our guys busy, and
yeah. Because the one that we, had crossed paths with, they just dropped some stuff. We're doing all the landscaping, trim out, whatever kind of stuff. They actually invited us down to down there to kind of take pictures and stuff. They said it's coming out really nice. But to much to my surprise, you had been working on this project since, I think you said 2018.
Yes, that was, in fact, the McKenna project was one of our first 2605 projects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's great, because you said 2017 was when you were getting started. Wow, yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah. So when I'm in Maui in June, I would love to
let's go down there, girl. We're gonna go have lunch, and we're gonna go take pictures for sure.
Yeah,
because I think they're about 6 months out from finishing it and stuff. So, and I hear this guy is he's a pretty cool guy, I guess, from what everybody is saying about him. Like, he'll show up, the owner of the property, he'll show up with pizza on Fridays and stuff like that.
Oh, we'll have to come on Friday.
Yeah, right. We'll have to eat pizza with the guys. So yeah, that's exciting. So let's get into ISO and 9000 certifications. What's all that about? That's usually like I notice a lot of powder coaters, we don't have that certification. Maybe we should get into it. Um, I noticed that a lot of that's the first entry level one.
Yes. So ISO 9001 is a quality management system, and it's abbreviated with QMS for quality management system. And what it is it's a process development control system. So let's say your painter decides to quit tomorrow morning and you need to find a new painter quickly. With a QMS in place, you can bring somebody in that doesn't necessarily know your company or your policies, but they can review the QMS and they can see what the proper policies and procedures are and learn quickly, how to excel at their job.
Right. Okay.
So so that's part of ISO. Another part of ISO, it's all traceability. So let's say, you powder coated a client's rims and, a year down the road, the client calls and tells you that the powder coating is flaking off. You can pull up your project job follow notes on that project, and you can find out who your pretreatment technician was and what pretreatment materials they used. You can find out who your masking technician was and what they used, who your powder coat technician was, what batch of powder they used, what the oven cure statistics were, what the humidity was that day. You can find out who QC'd the project, who packaged it, and then eventually handed it off to the client. So with control measures like that in place, you can figure out where the problem went left.
Yeah.
And do some additional training for that team of employees to step up your quality, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of smiling and laughing right now because last week, one of the guys Ross used to ride with on the motorcycle has a $360,000 Ferrari. No, is it a Ferrari? Wow. Yeah. I guess he got it at a discount or something, or I don't know what the circumstances are, how he ended up with this car. It's stunning. And he's not being cheap, but he can only do 2 rims at a time. And it was just this whole, he wanted to map. I guess there's some parts or some things about this car that are very unique to hold its value, like one of a kind kind of things or whatever. And so, he's trying to match the powder because he curved his rims or something. And he's trying to match the powder or the paint to the other, to the other side, so that if it ever goes to auction or anybody questions the value of the car, nobody's going to know any different, right? I was thinking maybe we could do maybe we should be doing ISO. I mean, it's an interesting question, especially when I think about coders that specialize in high-end cars too. I mean, that, you might need something like that, right? Or super high-end stuff, obviously if you're doing architectural, that's always a given too. We've just no one's ever really asked us, or we've never not qualified for a job because we didn't have the certification. But I see where it could definitely be a good process to bring in-house if we ever wanted to go next level with it, right?
It's absolutely good. And we had the same train of thought for so long because nobody had ever asked us for an ISO certification either. But since we have attained that, we've learned how that process actually works. And we didn't just go for ISO 9001, which is a great quality control standard. We went for the AS 9100, which is one more elevation above that. It's aerospace qualified.
Okay.
Hi, this is Ross at Maui Powder Works.
I have this problem with my finish. It's peeling and cracking, and there appears to be a white powdery substance underneath. What's happening?
Oh yeah, that's a common problem. It's called electrolysis, and in extreme weather and climates, it can ruin the life of your finishes. What we do to fix this is we install a Duralife fastener.
Prevent the early onset of coating failure with our specially designed screw cap that fits any quarter-inch hole.
Give all your commercial and residential jobs the longest durability against corrosion in harsh environments, perfect for powder coated, painted, or conversion coated finishes.
To order your Duralife sink fasteners today, go to MauiPowderworks.com, click Shop, then click Duralife. While you're there, check out our other products.
Extend the life of your finish. Let Duralife be your protector.
So in our case for AS 9100, once you're certified, and you have to recertify annually, by the way, they put you on a system called Oasis, which is a national database for government contractors like Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Boeing. They all can get into the Oasis system. And if they say, if they type in who's powder coating that's AS 9100 certified, Andrew's powder coating will pop up.
Right.
So that's the benefit for us. We would not have seen some of these government contractors in the past because we're not on the Oasis system.
Right.
And that's likely why many finishers don't ever see a request for an ISO finish or an AS 9100 finish because you're not on the platform that their buyers and QC guys are looking at.
Yeah. And let's face it, that's the first thing a prime is going to do. Prime contractor is going to do. I've not heard of, and maybe you can answer this because, there's a lot of government contractors. The United States government is one of the largest buyers in the world. And, it kind of makes a good case to be, to have these entry level certifications because of that reason alone. You're just not popping up on these people's radars. Here so everybody knows us online in terms of like, we're the first website to pop up if you put in powder coating Hawaii or whatever, right? And so we did get an email last week for some job on Kauai. But I could see where they could find us more readily if we were in their systems and stuff like that,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, makes for a good case for that. You kind of touched on military and CARC. My experience with that was somebody reached out to us via email on some aquatic type of machinery for the ocean or something, and when I looked up the color code, it was something that Tiger sold or whatever. So I guess the thing about that, this is what I understand, and you'll probably fill in the gaps, is you have to tell them what the RFQ is or whatever the code is for the specific project for that paint color. And then they'll help you with the certification for it. But I know there's a lot more to that than meets the eye.
They do. So a lot of mil spec personnel, engineers, we'll say, they'll come up with a drawing at their place of business and they will send it to the local powder coater. And it has a mil spec finish on it, mil PRF 595, and then it calls out the color. And they'll send it to Bill's powder coating down the street. And Bill will say, oh, yeah, I can get that color. It's just a semi-gloss black. But it doesn't comply with the mil spec. And unfortunately, there's no enforcement. But if something were to go wrong, and they found out that Bob's Powder Coating did the finishing, and he didn't apply a finish that was on the QPL, which is the qualified product listing. Not only can Bob's Powder Coating get fined heavily, and Bob's Powder Coating's owner could go to jail, but the buyer for that company could also put their company in a precarious situation where they get their AS 9100 stripped. And that would be devastating for a company like Boeing, for example. And I'm using them on purpose because they're having major quality problems right now from, you know, not doing some diligence, quite frankly. So it's important that buyers for these big military projects make sure that their finishing houses are CARC certified and they're actually using powders that are on the QPL instead of calling those powder coaters, and the powder coaters are calling companies that say they're selling these colors and they're not on the QPL. There is one major manufacturer who is specified on almost every military drawing that is not on the QPL. And I don't know how they got their color specified nationally, but they did. And it's been very challenging for us to speak to engineering teams and let them know that that color is really actually not on the QPL and they need to change manufacturers or get that manufacturer on the QPL, which is a headache for the manufacturer as well.
Right. Yeah. I can imagine.
You can go down a pretty deep rabbit hole as far as all that goes. And we have gone down the rabbit hole because it's what we do. You know,
I mean, do you sometimes get frustrated about it? Like, I mean, you must, because you are trying so hard to be, represent the industry in the most perfect way. And then there's all these like things that just kind of,
we do get frustrated. The only thing that is helping our cause, quite frankly, is what's happening with Boeing right now.
Yeah.
And now we're able to use those QC issues in our favor and say, hey, you don't want to be like this, and you don't want your door to fall off your airplane because you're using someone that's not putting bolts in correctly. I mean, it just, they're ratcheting up their QC systems a little better now. And so that's going to bode well for companies that play by the rules and really know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So let's talk about PCI 3000 if you can. I don't know if you are PCI 3000. Do you know anything about their 3000 and 4000 compliancy?
So PCI reached out to me and asked me if we wanted to go through their qualifying process. And we opted to not go for a couple of reasons. One is that it cost almost as much as getting AS 9100. And two, in 42 years, we have never, ever been asked if we are PCI compliant. And it doesn't, for us, I'm going to just speak personally, it wouldn't do anything for us. AS 9100 is the platform that is federally recognized. And so we feel like that was the platform to put our time and energy into.
Well, yeah, because who is actually certifying, who is actually calling for that spec, or that qualification?
Someone at Powder Coating Institute.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So yeah. So let's get into, I'm just looking through my notes here. In terms of the paperwork, I mean, and I guess that's where I was kind of going, and then we went off on another direction. But, when we're trying, we're SAM certified, we did a show on that. think it was episode 41 or something like that, where we talked about working through a contract and reading a contract, getting SAM certified. And for those of you that don't know what SAM, it's just the contract. It's just the login site for you to kind of be registered within the government to be recognized as either as a contractor or subcontractor.
Yes, and I'm gonna congratulate Maui Powder Works for being SAM certified, because anybody that is SAM certified, anybody that can navigate the SAM website deserves cake and ice cream every single day for the rest of their life.
Here, I'll make it easy for you. I'm just gonna do. Here's my star.
Yay! I love it. I mean, it's by far
the
SAM platform has been the most challenging. It's been more difficult than any other platform, and we don't know why. We don't know why.
Because they hired terrible people to do the IT and data website, and God forbid you move and trying to change.
Oh, yeah, don't move
your location. Don't ever move. If you're SAM certified, they will never understand. It literally took, I knew I was in for some kind of an uphill climb on changing the address, but I had no idea it was going to take as long as it did. I had multiple agencies that are there for help, right? Helpers that somehow have connections to these other agencies. It was just a catch-22 everywhere I went. And I kept getting this email from this one entity in the government that said, you can't qualify because you don't have, it was like going to the DMV, and not having the insurance.
Yeah. Yep. It's challenging. And
it was.
Yeah. So congratulations for getting through it.
Well, thank you. And I even wrote an email to the girl and said, how do you, she goes, I can't explain it. She gave up. Anyways, so that was for my alarm for the other time period. So I guess I thought I turned that off, but I didn't. So yeah, it took way longer than it needed to. And I just attended a seminar last week, actually, a couple of weeks ago, where they were talking, they just brought in all the agents because they know how much business. There's so much government contracts going to come down the pipe here in Hawaii. We're talking like spending that has money that has never been spent before in this state if we don't go broke in the United States prior to that. They're trying to get all these people kind of certified or at least on the radar for this kind of stuff, including like, disadvantaged business owners and stuff like that, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses and stuff like that. And that's whole nother section to get into. Hopefully I'll have somebody on someday about it, but it is a challenge in the paperwork you have to do. So that was kind of where I was going with the question was, when you are having these certifications, there is a level of, paperwork.
Yes.
That you have to do to maintain that, all these certifications. You have to be on it, and that takes money, takes time, and it takes employees, right?
Yes. Yep.
Labor.
So the paperwork part is what has been a big challenge for a lot of people. In fact, we have a friendly competitor that is nearby that sprays AS9100 compliant liquid finishes. And we've had several conversations with them, and they're like, don't ever do it. I have stacks of paperwork on my desk. I can't get through it all. It's overwhelming, et cetera, et cetera. So along the way, when we started to go down this road, we brought in a a QC manager to help us get through the AS situation. And he's also a software writer. And what he's doing is he's created software for quality management systems so that we don't get thrown under a bunch of paperwork. And we are now arming our entire team with laptops. And there's a system that we're now on called CODA, where when we first get an RFQ, our sales estimator goes through it, and he does all of the all the forward work on it. And when that project actually shows up to the shop, it's a touch screen. So all he does is moves it over into the receiving area. And so the receiving area knows that that project is coming, and they come and they review the contract review really quick. And then it moves into the prep shop, or into production. And so it's just another touch screen and no more paperwork. So we fill it in, the employee puts their name down. Yes, I counted everything. I measured everything, whatever. I've verified that the color is here. Everything is good to go. We have all the materials. I'm moving it over into production, and every step of production, all they do is touch screen it over to the next step. And then when it's done, we're done. And then we have this database with this client's work in it that all my employees had to do is touch screen and fill in fields on their laptop, and then it's over. So
go ahead.
Right. So it's good news for people that are using these platforms, because it's no longer so stifling. There are ways to get this done for a better way.
But that's got to cost money. And let's get into the costs of having.
Oh my.
The jobs are bigger paying, right? They're in the millions, multi-millions maybe. But what's, tell us about your journey.
Hey guys, we never thought the Powder Coder podcast would take off as well as it has. The level of engagement and bringing custom coders together has been wonderful and worth every late night edit and weekend recording.
Whether it's product features, smart business strategies, or custom coder interviews, we are encouraged to continue to bring great content. That's why we're going to show you how you can help us just a little bit more by sponsoring the show for as little as $1, $5, or $10 per month.
Just go to rosscoat.com page and look for the Become a Patreon button in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Once you're there, you can scroll to learn more about our goals and mission to grow our community by bringing you new episodes and news each week.
With every sponsor level, you get something for yourself, too, to guarantee your success as a powder coder. We are so thankful for you and enjoying the content we bring you each week, and hope you show your support by becoming a sponsor. And level up your powder coder game.
Just to get AS 9100 certified, which included our QC consult for like a 2-year period of time to train our team and to walk us through and get us through our first and second audits, which were 1 year apart. It was between 35 and 50,000 just for the service. But once we got on the Oasis platform and we were established, obviously it benefited us. To arm our team with a bunch of laptops, we found, laptops now are, they're a dime a dozen. We were able to buy some nice laptops for everybody for $200 a piece. So for, $3,000, we can give everybody a laptop and get everybody going. So yes, the expense up front is kind of big. And again, it's another barrier to entry for some powder coders, which is another defining moment that we've been able to step away from and differentiate ourselves from other powder coaters. So there's goods and bads, but
Right.
if you're on the Oasis platform and you just happen to get one purchase order from Raytheon or Northrop Grumman, for example, you'll realize that it was all worth it. And
Right. Yeah. But man, yeah. And I don't know how many contracts like the process of getting the contract. Is it usually for you guys? Are you pairing with primes or are you actually the prime? I guess is what I'm going to ask you next in regards to government contracts.
We are the prime, which they call tier 1 at this point. There are several clients we have where we're tier 2. So those clients are the tier 1 and they'll sub out to us, but we still have to have all the same certifications. And it's really nice for example, we had a prime contractor call us 2 weeks ago and they wanted to do some work. They had some Boeing work that they needed to have done. And they said, we called Boeing direct and they threw your name out. So to get that kind of stature with those contractors I really wanted to throw a party actually to have that happen. So we are tier 1. Sorry about the light. Yeah, we are tier 1. It doesn't necessarily make it any easier, but yeah.
So in a recent interview with Tim from Surface Finishing.
Finishings and coatings.
Yeah, and coatings.
Yeah.
Who used to be the director over at product finishing, and then he kind of launched his own last few years. And he does really great articles. I do enjoy reading, and he covers so many different facets of coatings, not just powder coatings, but he recently interviewed you and I watched this and you talked about observational marketing. Yeah. And I've never heard that word before. And I was just wondering if you can explain what you mean by that. And I'll put a link in the interview in our podcast so people can watch it too, because he asked you a lot of different questions than I did.
Yeah. Today. So observational marketing, I guess is something that I just kind of made up. I don't have a formal education in marketing. Yeah. So yeah, there's no formal education in marketing going on. But when I was younger, I worked in pet retail. So this is where my observational marketing started. I worked for Petco Corporation for 4 years, and we had display contests all the time. Mm-hmm. And the pet food reps would come in and they would coach our teams on what was most visually appealing to people and where they look. And so once we had that basic training, I started walking into grocery stores and specifically walking down like the cereal aisle. And they keep tricks and Cocoa Puffs and things like that about the height of like a 7-year-old. Because that's what the 7-year-old is going to see and that's what they're going to want. So this kind of observational marketing has followed me into this company. And I just, I've applied all of those principles to marketing our own company. I know what people like to see. I know how long it takes for them to hear a message. I know that you have to be super repetitive and super confident in delivering your message for them to understand and for them to go, and also to know how to explain it in different ways, because often the message gets really mudded up, in what you hear and what this man hears and what this woman hears might be 3 different things. So you've got to learn different deliveries of different messages You have to learn what your client's learning style is, whether they're a visual learner or a text learner, and present the solutions to their issues in that way for that client. So those are all of my observational marketing tips.
I think that's great. I mean, I love the name or the wording that you're using too, and I think it should kind of become part of, it's something that's not spoken about very often, and stuff. I think in terms of, what I see happening when you're doing your own marketing, because let's face it, when you're a company, you may not have set aside budgetary, enough budget for marketing. A lot of it's probably falls on your shoulders, certainly falls on mine. It's always the office lady or the, admin or whatever scrambling for that photo op or whatever. I think that what I see when people do market or have the ability to market, whether they're paying, is the lack of a call to action, right? At the end of whatever it is, your video, your brochure, your whatever it is you're trying to get across is just asking, and I catch myself too, catching myself just like, oh, what's the call to action? What do I want this person to do when they see this XYZ post or, flyer or whatever, right?
Yes. So a lot of sales forces have this challenge, and a sales force will go out and say, I hope we do business soon. And then they shake hands and you never see each other again. And they're like, oh gosh, we had such a great sales meeting. I wonder why I never heard from that company again. And it's because there was no call to action, like you say. So to give that person, say, okay, I'm going to call you Monday at 9:00, and be definitive about it, and continue to establish those relationships and continue to provide your expertise repeatedly to that client will allow for that relationship. It is all about relationships. So you've got to allow that relationship to blossom. You've got to allow your work to be able to showcase behind your words, and take it from there.
For sure. I mean, your approach to a potential client is going to be way different than mine. It's not just a matter of, it's kind of more about the product you're delivering, right? And your product that you're delivering is way different than what Maui Powderworks is offering.
Right. But you are in a unique position, and you have such an opportunity to, Andrew's Powder Coating used to be, in a building very similar to yours. And
where you have to go outside to change your mind.
Yes. Yeah. And I do see the opportunity after speaking to you offline over the last couple of years. I'm excited for you guys. You guys have an opportunity. You guys have done all of the pre-ground fabrication of your sales and marketing program. You're doing the Powder Coater podcast. You're out there on LinkedIn. Yeah. You're providing necessary information for our finishing industry, and to have that, and to have clients be comfortable with you is just a recipe for such great success. So, of course, I'm a big fan of yours, and I would love to see that happen for you guys. And I'll be here any time for you guys to.
Oh, thank you.
Call up and get some, go through your growing pains with you and give you advice freely, because I would just love to see that happen for you guys.
Yeah, I know, because you did talk about that in the interview too, is how you got to where you are today was, you did have to hire consulting. And I think that there is almost do you believe that there's actually, I mean, is there a lack of consultants out there? I just find that I don't see a lot of them, and a lot of them have already don't necessarily own a business anymore. They've kind of moved on, or sold their business, and now they're doing this kind of work, helping others. And I think it's great, but don't you think we need some more people out there?
This is a multifaceted question. I'm not sure if there's a lack of consulting experts out there, but I know in my case specifically, when I was in my first building and I knew that consulting was the way to go for us to grow, there was no amount of money I was going to be able to put together to hire a consultant. So it left me in a very challenging position. And the universe works in weird ways, Kim.
Doesn't it?
I just manifested some help. And one day, this guy named John Trusty walked into my front door from a company called CMTC, which is the California Manufacturing and Technology Association. They're a government-funded consulting center. And I'm like, how much do I have to pay you? And he's like, nothing. We have federal tax dollars and state tax dollars to help you. And I'm like, I didn't know how far this was going to go. So I'm like, fine, be here every Monday morning at 6 a.m., which is such an impossible ask for anybody. But I wanted to see if they were for real. And I got to tell you, John Trusty showed up every Monday morning at 6 a.m. for me and really taught us a lot, starting with a SWOT analysis, which is just such the basic, let's start a powder coating bakery and see what happens.
Right.
And we grew under their guidance, and we moved under their guidance, and then we moved again under their guidance. And I hand a large part of our pushing to them, because they did push us, but they never pushed us into a corner where we would fail, and we haven't failed.
I think that's awesome, because you really get to see. I almost wish, and maybe you have tried to write down or journal how you went through those steps, because that would be such invaluable information to know, to how you took those steps to get to where you are. Because I'm here, you're there, right? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking it's almost impossible, right? But it's just because I don't understand or know your journey, your footsteps, and stuff. And I think that's pretty much what brought me, like, with the podcast. I have really garnered with every interview and some kind of inner knowing, or some kind of, I don't even know how to explain it, how it is that I think, but because I interview so many people, I have kind of formulated a new understanding of our industry. I mean, the onset was always to learn about it, right? If I don't know it, I want to learn about it. Like we're talking about certifications and powders today. But with all of those interviews, I have the ability to kind of understand things from new perspectives, and maybe a unique perspective because of it, and it's certainly benefited from it, which is awesome. And maybe hopefully moving the industry forward, why does innovation always have to be top down? That's my biggest, gripe now, because I'm finding out through my own experience that those big guys don't really like you to kind of poke underneath them,
Well, because it's tried and true for them, and they don't like to upset the apple cart, because it just results in change.
Right.
And change is not comfortable, but change is sometimes necessary. And to be able to garner as much perspective as you can just makes you a leader. You know, you're armed with all this knowledge, and you're armed with not only people's successes, but their failures, which is also a key to success because it teaches us what not to do. So if somebody starts a business and they're successful right from the bat, they don't learn what not to do.
Yeah.
And when they have a problem, they don't know how to handle it. So learning what not to do has been such a valuable lesson to people like us. You know, in metal finishing, we all know there's lots of mistakes that are made daily.
Right. And I'm so proud that you came on today because, like, it's not just that Andrews is different or has accomplished so much in this world, or, you know, in the realm of powder coatings and certifications and everything we've talked about today, but, you know, you are a woman in powder coating. How unique is that, right? I mean, we're having a conversation, an intellectual conversation about powder coatings, and you know, it's still very much a man's world out there, and it should be, but it's so nice to get to know you, and I would love to have more women, because I know behind every powder coating shop there is one girl that's working there that knows a thing or two about powder coating, you know?
Yes.
And we need to kind of have our own voice, I guess, so to speak, you know?
We do. And seeing the industry change has been great for me, because imagine when I got into this industry 25 years ago, wow. I mean, I had clients, again, we were servicing cars and motorcycle guys. They wouldn't even talk to me. You know, I was just the girl that answered the phone. And, you know, people would call, I need to speak to the owner. And I'm like, okay, how can I help you? So, you know, that's been an interesting challenge and, you know, to overcome. But with time and relationship building, we've garnered those manly respects, if you will.
Yeah.
It hasn't been easy. You know, this is a woman challenge in every industry.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have my mom and my sister have been corporate insurance industry giants. And my mom broke the glass ceiling for women in her corporation, you know, 45 years ago.
Wow.
And it was just, she just, you know, I admire her so much. She really laid some groundwork and some tough shoes for me to fill. But I did it, and my little sister is following in her footsteps as well. So we've had a good mentor along the way, and you know, women in industry have an ability to have some empathy for a client's problems, and to come up with a level-headed solution for them, and to meet with a team of people that can really back that client and get them through whatever their situation is.
Yeah. I mean, getting back to the phone call or whatever, I'm like, you know, I may not be the owner or whatever, but you're going to have to get through me to even talk to the owner. You know, let me answer all of your questions first, and we'll see if you can even talk to them.
Right.
You have to meet my qualifications first.
Yeah.
And it always ends with, my gosh, thank you so much for, you know, answering the questions that I had. And they don't even want to talk to him because I've pretty much answered all those questions, you know, and then some, you know, but, you know, I think it does take, you know, like you said, your mom pushing those boundaries in her own world, you know, work world, to kind of shine an example for you to be bold, right, and not and to learn more. You know, it's easy when you're sometimes it's easy. I don't know, maybe it's more difficult, but like when you're the entrepreneur, I mean, it all rides on your shoulders too. You're not just a paid employee collecting a paycheck too, right? So it just, and I think that that's really what it amounts to is just, yeah, we share our story, you're sharing yours, and we it's not like we made these big leaps in one day. We stair stepped or baby stepped our way there, and stuff. And I agree with your observational marketing, um, because that's how I got proficient on all of these social media platforms enough to where we were making a difference. Now, the problem therein lies, when Meta's got the gun, the algorithm gun, and can change its direction anywhere and any place it wants to. Well, then you're at the will and the whim of that, right? Whether they're going to support your Facebook business page or today, and tomorrow they will not, or whatever, so you're still at the whim and will of these other, in terms of the easier organic marketing and stuff, and you always have the option of paying for advertising. But sometimes I feel like I have not ever, and I don't know if you do, because I've never asked anybody else, but have you ever paid for marketing?
We have not.
Yeah.
The only thing I did, I don't want to say we never have paid for marketing. Back 20 years ago, we did pay for Google AdWords when Google AdWords first came out.
Yeah.
And it was like the beginning of SEO. And so we were able to capture some industry keywords and put them in the AdWords platform, if you will. Yeah. And our website would show up.
Yeah.
But I think AdWords is now, it's a past product. I don't think it really does anything anymore, although I'm unsure about that. And
I think there's other ways.
Yeah, we stopped using that platform. Most social media we have stopped, actually. So we're not on the Meta platform anymore. I just have a message on there asking all of our Facebook followers to please come over to LinkedIn now. Just because we disagree with the algorithm. I mean, when you work so hard for something and they can just switch it overnight to something else that you don't understand. That was one aspect, but the other aspect is there's so much hacking going on that platform right now, and Facebook is doing nothing to help their customers.
No, I know. It's an annoyance beyond annoyance to have all these spammers out there just taking advantage of it. I mean, yeah, but I'm so thrilled because and we're going to show your your Andrew's powder coating website. But I do want to share this with everybody today because, I just love this directory, and you did, we're gaining more users and stuff like that since you put up your, took advantage of putting up your little page here on our directory site and stuff that you did such an exceptional A++, because I want to show, how powder coaters can easily just take advantage of something like a tool like this that can actually help you with the SEO, because you still need a valuable backlink to something when you've got your website up, and the more we can raft up together, the greater or the easier it is for the Google bots to find you and validate and verify who you are,
Yes, I appreciate you putting this together as well.
Yeah, but when you you check all the boxes when you do something. So I admire that. I do too. And I really want to showcase your page on the website because it made it so easy for me to verify who you were, because on the back end, you submit this to the, you submit your directory, your page, and then I have to approve it. And you had everything kind of pretty much already there for me, ready to go. So it was easy for me to really just dive into approving you right away. And then I want to share, so I shared your page on the directory in Facebook, which gives you a geo link, because it's a geo post saying that the powder coating directory is in Los Angeles, California, and it's with Andrew's Powder Coating, right? So there's that's a valuable link too as well. A lot of people don't see that, but this is an exceptional site. I really didn't have to do much to put, and you don't even have to put as much as what Sandy did here on your page, but they do have a lot of certifications. I think that's just as validating to have all of that and stuff. And where did over here, you put a video and you put your, I love this.
Yeah.
It could be an interview featuring the owner, where it could be a small YouTube video. The main thing is it has to be on video. I think we can do VMO, what is it? That other platform.
Vimeo.
Vimeo. But I just, I have one myself, and I just used a promotional video of what we do, some services we provide or whatever. I just had it out there. So it was just easy to pop it in there. You don't have to have a video, but I just wanted to show this because, a lot of people don't realize that we actually have a video thing. So you can, and people, the more people you can wow them with visual stuff, the more they're going to stay on this page and read and introduce you to who you are. Right.
Yes.
So this is awesome. Thank you for joining us on the directory and showcasing everything. Yeah, it's great. So let's pop over to your, Andrew's page to showcase, because you've spent so much time with me, and I want just people to know who you are and to pay attention to who you are, because you are a leader in the industry. And this showcases all of your certifications, or at least some of them. And
you can click right on the AS 9100 button right there, and our certificate will show up.
Oh, whoa. Yeah. Yes. Very nice. It's official.
It is official.
Wow.
So that's good for.
I don't know if did it show up when I clicked on it? I might have to.
It didn't, which is interesting. It just shows. Okay. I think it's a PDF, but
here I can.
Oh, there it is.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a StreamYard thing, so I just have to share that tab.
Okay.
So there you go. There's the signature and everything to make it all official, so that their clients get that reassurance that they're, you're giving them. What you're doing is you're giving them that reassurance right off the bat, because people have busy lives. These people that are specifying and having to do all this are really just looking for instant gratification, I guess, or instant answers without having to go and call. And, it just simplifies a lot. So I always admire people that can kind of get ahead of the customer in their mind and what they're really looking for on their website, and how they can find it easily, right? You wouldn't know to click on that, but if somebody did, they would get right into what it is that they're getting.
Correct.
That's awesome. And it's just clean website.
Yes. And it's also formatted so that, you can easily look at it on a cell phone.
Yeah.
So a lot of websites have not been formatted that way. And I want to stress to other
Oh yeah, definitely.
Other business owners everywhere, not just metal finishing professionals, but the lion's share of our website hits come from mobile devices, which is interesting to know. And it's an interesting stat to share. So I'd like to, make sure everybody that is advertising on the internet to make it cell phone friendly, because that's where people are finding you.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of happened, in the late teens. So I want to say 17, 18, 19, they were really pushing the mobile stuff. Now I have it on the Google Analytics. Now they've switched to the G4 Analytics. So hopefully you've done that already. I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Although it still says I need to do something on there, but I know that I did it because I took a simple course through Danielle Miller. She's been inspirational and very exemplary for me to follow. And we've had her on the show. In fact, I actually have listeners on the show asking me when she's going to come back because she's just so informative. But she's the one that kind of helped me navigate and switching over and stuff like that. Of course, I only have like 5 sites. No biggie. I only have 5 sites to manage. I swear to God, sometimes I just, I have to put the spear in the foot, just now I have to control it all. And it's like, crazy.
Yeah, you have a monster on your hand. I don't know how you do it.
A lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But we're seeing progress in what we're trying to accomplish and stuff. So like I said, I'm so, grateful for you and your husband. I got to mention your husband, Scott, too, because he is very dynamic in and of himself. In just talking to him over the phone briefly about what you guys do. This was months and months ago, but you guys are both equally strong, and maybe you guys can come back on the show as a couple, because I don't know how many couples run their own business, because it seems like sometimes the wife does something else, and how you manage that in itself, and you don't drive each other crazy. But you see that door there? That is my saving grace right there, because our other shop didn't have that. And he would be yelling at me all the time. But the door helps. And now I have my space that I control, and I talk to customers and do all of that stuff. And, if he needs to get involved, he will. Right. But yeah.
Yes. So I'm gonna clear up a really weird industry rumor right now. And Scott and I are not married.
Oh, really?
And in fact, we're both engaged to other people right now. And it's okay. We did used to be married. So
but that's even more extraordinary.
Yeah. Yep. So we are business partners. We continue to run our company together. We obviously have the same goals and dreams, and we're still very dedicated to the progression of this company and where it's going.
You guys have incredible nerves of steel. I even love you guys now even more.
Yeah.
Because how many people listening to this show right now are going through, tenuous times? I mean, it's been trying for us because of the accident and the recovery. And I almost feel like there's a bit of fallout now, because we just charged right through that accident, when instead of taking the time to really kind of process what had happened to us, and now there's a bit of a fallout from it, because now, almost now going to be 2 years in May. Yeah. And we just charged right through it, not thinking, because that's Kim and Ross. That's what we do. We just charge through like a rhinoceros through things, and it's not easy to do. And there is a mental health level to it, right? So not just from the day to day, in terms of either having a partner or becoming a business partner, there are so many aspects to this business that we haven't even touched on that we could go into, and stuff.
Yep.
So I congratulate you guys for sticking together through that. In that sense, so that's very challenging. I mean, one more challenge you guys haven't, what haven't you done?
Yeah. 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 So
My
we both
goodness.
have, it's just like parents that have kids to raise together. So
Yeah.
that's what we equate our relationship to. We still have a team of people that are very loyal to us and very dependent on us still being able to cohesively work together and get projects finished.
Right.
So,
My goodness.
and I do know the challenges associated with the door and the wall. And, when Scott and I were in a smaller building, we had all those same challenges. And I had a very special mentor of mine who owned a business with his wife too. And he sat me down on several occasions and did quite frankly tell me that I was going to have to either choose between my marriage and my business. And there was no word barred about that. He was just very straight up about it. And of course, I was very young when he went into all of this. And after growing a little bit, I was like, God, Marv was so smart. But he was right also, I had to, in our second building, Scott and I shared a giant office, and I experienced some of the same challenges that you just went through. And I had a contractor come in and build a wall down the middle of our office and split our office in two because it was challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just, I don't know. Really a show needs to be done on it. I don't know. I guess, and that was, we've always worked together though, like, I guess we were just young and dumb, and Ross's parents did it. So why couldn't we,
Yeah.
And, it, again, it has a set of problems to solve rather than, but I know talking to a lot of friends and stuff, like, how do you work with your husband? I could barely, I don't think I could do that. And then I realized, oh, wow, that is kind of different, and unique.
Yeah.
And stuff. But anyways, it's been such a pleasure. I think we've talked it all out.
I think we have. I very much appreciate being on this episode. And again, thank you for inviting me. And I had a good time. And appreciate the entire conversation, Kim. Truly. Thank you so much.
Well, like I said, we look up to you as leaders. I do, especially. And, we're continuously uncovering gaps in the market, in the industry. We just discovered that we could easily get into marriage counseling for powder coaters.
Exactly. Sure. I'm a pro at it.
So there you go. We just came up with another business.
That's website number 6 for you. Okay.
No more. I can't take it anymore. I'm trying to bring it down to a finite thing. But yeah, I do have fun with it. And Ross doesn't get it. He's like, why are you doing this to yourself? And I'm like, but I love it. I love the tech, and I love challenging myself. We're going to, by the time this is recorded, we'll have already either failed or done really well with the live custom coder forum. So please pray for us.
Oh, of course.
Just there's so much to fulfill in this industry. So why not? Right. And I think that you guys certainly have done that as well.
Yes. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in late June as well.
Yes, we are definitely going to do it for sure. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Please do like, share, and subscribe. I always forget to say that. And have a beautiful day. Aloha.
Thank you.